Here's a picture of Valerie's Shabbat group, her Bible study that she has every single weekend. And she's made it up of primarily single moms. So she has 8 committed single moms. They're either widowed or abandoned, and they all have lots of children. Most of them don't have jobs. And Valerie makes sure that they can get together, and they're just hungry and thirsty for the Word of God. And Valerie said out of these 8 women, most of them, or she said, the majority of them are struggling, but 2 of them are suffering. And there's a big difference between struggling and suffering. So the 2 that are suffering would be Mary and Alice. So today we went out and we visited Mary in her home so we could get a picture of what Valerie's trying to say when she says suffering. So we're going to show you Mary's story today, but Alice is also in the same situation. So here's Mary. She has 8 children. Carla and I happily held the little ones in our laps. We're visiting her in her home. Valerie has said that Mary is one who is trustworthy and faithful and is always there to study the Word of God with them as a group. And Valerie has been trying to help her friend Mary. This is outside the home that she and her children live in. They do not own the home. She can't afford rent, and so they rent this building in exchange for Mary helping to take care of the food that's being grown in the fields around her. So she's really kind of working in exchange for being provided a place of shelter. So she doesn't get the actual physical money, but she has a place where she can actually sleep and have shelter for her children. If you notice, the front door of their home is not secure at all. In fact, it isn't really even staying on. It like slides, it's crooked. If you look at the bottom of it, there's large openings, animals, dogs could even get in. And even on the top, there's no glass. They've just inserted cardboard pieces into the frame of the door to try to get some protection. Definitely rain and bad inclement weather could get through. This is the living room area. It actually was fairly decent, other than the lighting was pretty bad, and there was places up by the ceiling and windows where weather would enter into the home. But other than that, the living room was fairly decent. This is the bedroom where the mom, 8 children, and 1 grandchild all have to sleep. So there's this little bed under the window, and if you notice, the window doesn't have any coverings. They're just pushing cardboard pieces up in there to try to get some privacy. This is the other side of the bedroom. So the children that can't fit on these 2 beds that are in this room take these mattresses and put them on the floor to sleep on. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it in the video, but these mattresses are horrible. Extremely dirty, worn through, thin, just awful. And they're putting those down on the mud floor of the home, which is rather hard. I think sleeping on the ground outside would be even more comfortable than what they're doing there, but they must be inside at night to stay. So this is their kitchen, and in the left-hand corner of that space is where their clothing is stored. This is not a very well ventilated area, and the children are breathing in that smoke. But most of all, most people have like a rocket kind of a stove, but they're just still using the 3 rocks with the pan in the middle, and they can't afford charcoal. So she has to just get wood from within the woods to try to use to put underneath this pot. This is what remains of the food that they had for the day. It's just a simple millet porridge, nothing else. And I don't know what their portion was. A lot of people in this area, they're growing food, and they have much more variety, beans and greens and different types of grains and fruits. So this is a very limited amount of. And this is her 14-year-old daughter, who a man came and asked if he could hire her to do the dishes and to wash his clothing, except he had other purposes in mind, and she ended up being raped. And so she has this little child now. So the mom has 8 children, plus they have the grandchild as well to have to care for. This is one of her sons, and the example we're showing in this picture here is the clothing is too small. If you notice, the shorts are too small for him. Well, Valerie had donated clothing that she was done with for this family to use for their children. So Valerie's child is only 3. Her son is only 3 years old. So this child, who's clearly older than that, maybe 7 or 8, is trying to squeeze into the clothes from the 3-year-old that Valerie had donated, showing that they're obviously very depleted in clothing, where she can't even afford to be buying used clothing to keep her. Out of the 8 children, these are the children that are home because she does not have the money to send them to public school. Public school still has a charge, so for these kids, she didn't have enough to be able to do that. Mary does not own a phone. She's living life, as Valerie said, in a suffering state. So I'm communicating a need. Money goes very far. Some of these single moms are only making $15 a month. So I would ask if there's anybody out there that would have a heart to be a sponsor for Mary, it would be good seed. That's all I can say. God bless you. Thank you for watching the video.